So guys, welcome to the video. I have some good news, I have some bad news. We will start with the good news first. You have a new video today. And the bad news is the reason why you had that video. So I was sending it recently in a location that was very unpopulated. I do not condone street drifting. You should not be doing this on a daily basis, especially in front of a ton of people. This was a location that did not have a lot of people around it. As you can tell, there's no one in this video. So I was sending a few donuts, little couple of donuts with my boy Makar. You guys have met him before. Something happened as soon as that video was over, and I wish we kept recording, but yeah. Really quickly before I show you, because I don't want to turn the car on for a long time because I do not want to heat this up because I have to work in this area. What happened was when we were driving home, I heard this like whistling, like almost flapping noise when you'd get on the throttle. It would sound like a huge exhaust leak, and that's essentially what it is. And it's around this area, and I'm going to show you how I figured out it was around this area right now. I'm going to turn the car on. I'm going to spray this bad boy down with like soapy water, and we're just going to essentially see where the problem when the water starts to bubble up in that area. So right now I'm going to turn on the car, I'm going to squirt some water where I think it's happening in between the turbo and the exhaust manifold. I'm going to show you guys through the GoPro here. You can turn the car on first, and then I'll spray the water. Man, it wasn't nothing like that. Man, it wasn't nothing like that. Man, it wasn't nothing like that. Oh, okay. Definitely bubbling up down there. So everything I'm going to take off right now essentially needs to be these 8 or so bolts and the lines to the exhaust manifold too. So this is the feed line. It's got to come off, and the return line's got to get disconnected somewhere down there to be able to take the exhaust manifold completely off. That first time she was in my math class, long hair, brown skin with the fat joke. Sat beside me, used to laugh, had mad jokes. The teacher always got mad, so we passed notes. Started off so innocent, she had a vibe in it, started digging it. I was a young and straight crushing, trying to play this cool, but I couldn't wait to get to school. That's when I seen him. 100% found the culprit. As soon as I took it off, it's been 20 seconds, and I found it immediately. First thing I did was look at the exhaust manifold. I'm pretty sure I knew it wasn't going to be that gasket. This gasket is like a tri-metal gasket. It's got a lot of stuff going on. It's essentially an OEM gasket. It's a super good gasket. So we walked over to the turbo where I was feeling. So let me bring this back. Just to reiterate, this is what the turbo looked like on the car. Over here on this side is the head of the car, and the engine block is below it. The turbo is right here, and every time I put my hand right around this region, I was feeling air. So my first thinking was, okay, maybe it is the gasket between the turbo and the exhaust manifold. Obviously, that's what I was going to be thinking. I examined it, and you would see typically black stuff right around it, and that's where the leak would be. This exhaust manifold actually has an ability to run an external wastegate. There is a port for an external wastegate, but as you can tell on this turbo, I have an internal wastegate, so I just plugged the port for the external wastegate. So right here under the oil return line, we have the exhaust housing right here. Here's the intake housing of the turbo, and right here we have the block-off plate I made for this exhaust manifold. Gasket for the block-off plate to the exhaust manifold. Well, if you can tell right there, there's no gasket there anymore. The gasket is this orange or yellowish part, and right here, it is literally blown off from right there to right there. Here, it is literally blown off from right there to right there. I'm going to try this gasket maker one more time simply because I have a little bit more of it. It says Cometic on it. It's 4 exhaust manifolds, 4 exhausts, and that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's connected right next to the turbo, so this thing gets as hot as any part of the engine bay is going to get. So it might not work for a second time. Granted, I've only put about 1,000 miles on this motor, and it did blow off when I was at redline for about 10 seconds straight. So, or maybe about 7 to 8 seconds straight. That's when it went. So obviously we are going to try it one more time. I'm going to take this off, show you guys the gasket, and then show you how I make the new gasket for it, and then run it. And I ain't never did this before, no. 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 Wow, oh my gosh. is cracking right here too. Look at that. So it's completely gone right here. Completely gone. And it's cracking right in this region. I bet it'll literally come off in 2 pieces. Well, it's coming off in 1,000,000 pieces, so this stuff's garbage. I really need to get a metal, oh, and yep. So multiple pieces. I need to clean up this part of the exhaust manifold so it can be seated again. And honestly, what needs to happen is I need to get a metal gasket. Obviously that's gonna be tough to do. I have to make that somehow, obviously, because this is a off-the-shelf exhaust manifold for the car. You can't just go and buy these. Nowhere is gonna really sell this gasket, so I need to figure out a way to get a metal gasket made, or a piece of metal that's flimsy enough that I can cut to make a gasket that will be able to be compressed. So if you guys have any suggestions for that, put it in the comment section below. I'm gonna run the old gasket like I did last time, make that up, mock it up, show you guys what I'm gonna do. I'm sure that this stuff would have worked for like exhaust piping or stuff like that that doesn't get as hot.
So of course I had sex before, knowing I was frontin'. I said I'm like a pro, baby, knowing I was nothing. But if I told the truth, I knew that I'd get played out, son. Hadn't been in since the day I came out one, but she don't know that, so she done wrote back and told me, oh, you.
Here you could definitely see where the exhaust leak was too. I kind of marked it off a little bit, but it's definitely still visible. Here is definitely where the exhaust leak was, and I had a baby exhaust leak there. And if you guys watched my most recent video, you guys will remember that I was running lean in the AFR situation, right? Part of it was definitely the spark plugs. I was like kind of misfiring up top. Switched that out, and I was still running a little bit lean when I typically wasn't at the same boost level before. My thinking is some of the exhaust was getting out that tiny little crack, causing the wideband O2 sensor not to pick up some of the exhaust fumes and not being able to get a perfect reading on the AFRs. So that is probably what did it. And honestly, when I get back in the car now, since I added more fuel to that map, I bet it will be even more richer now with a gasket that has all the exhaust fumes going through the downpipe and hitting the O2 sensor. I'm really betting that I'm gonna have to go back to the map I originally had a couple weeks ago with the original tune I had on there after I tuned the car initially when I got all of this set back up.
Still be right here in these shoes cause I heard numbers in my iPhone. Yeah, I got it, girl, but I should. Yeah, bitch. Yeah. Feed her alcohol to lead that bitch with the what's gonna happen when it reaches your
God, I'm an idiot. Could you imagine if I actually did that? I am such an idiot.
After all that we've been through, I think it's fair from me to you. Watch it burn as we soar away. Hey, hey. After all is said and done, and I know I am the one. I have waited here forever. But all I know is what I'm told. This feeling cannot be controlled.
12 minutes and 2 seconds is what it took me to get the exhaust manifold back on, the downpipe connected to the turbo, the oil feed line, the oil drain line, the vacuum lines, and the intercooler pipe with the coupler attached. 12 minutes and 2 seconds. That has to be a new record for me. And honestly, I mean, I was going quick, but I could have done it a little quicker in my opinion. So that was pretty sweet. Let's get this thing started. Let's get it on the ground first, get it started, and see, hopefully we have a better change. Alright, before I turn the car on, I do want to show you. This is the old gasket, and it literally breaks in half with zero effort at all. So the entire gasket was going to go eventually, probably in just a couple more miles from then. I do need a fix. Please put in the comment section below because I'm not going to look it up, but I do read every comment. Put what I should do for the future. Because obviously this isn't going to hold. I just did it because I can do this really quick. It's not like dropping a transmission or pulling the engine. It's a 30-minute task for me. So I can pull this out, put it back in super quick. And I definitely need a fix because I'm only going to try to run this for the next 100 miles or so. Comment section below, what should I do? Well, here goes nothing. Time to turn on the car, see if what I did actually helped. I believe it did. Let's just give it a go. Let it prime, let it prime, let it prime. Oh yeah. Sounded much better already. Car's running a lot smoother. Up for a minute and then we'll rip it on the road and see if everything's good. But it's sounding a lot better at exhaust, sounding a lot better up front too. Not making that weird noise anymore, not shooting out air from what I can feel. So everything's looking good. AFRs already are a little low, meaning it's running a little rich than what I'm typically used to. But let's see what happens, I guess. After those donuts, that we'll play again right now. After those donuts, I did a little pull right after the donut, and then right as soon as I did that pull, I heard a difference in the car, and I was like, crap, something went wrong. And then I realized it only happened when I would accelerate a little bit, and then it kind of sounded like a massive exhaust leak would sound, but coming from the front. And that hasn't happened yet, and I can get on it a little bit. Definitely fixed. The problem with exhaust leaks like that before the turbo is that you're losing a ton of spool. So you might be able to get to full boost depending on how bad the leak is. Honestly, mine might not have gotten to full boost, but you might be able to get to full boost, but it's gonna be later in the RPM or later in the power band, and that's just no fun. AFRs are definitely a little rich, but we're back, baby. I can fix that later. Woo! You live and learn, and that's the thing about cars. You're learning every day, especially when they break. And that's probably why I know so many things like I do. And you guys have noticed I have learned a ton in the past 2 years. It's because my stuff breaks all the time. But it's just a learning process. If I had a car that worked every day, I wouldn't be as knowledgeable as I am with cars as I am now. Not saying I know everything, because I really don't. I don't know anything about cars still. But I know a few things here and there, and it's because of all the stuff that has broken on my cars. The learning process. I said we had a successful couple hours here at the little D shop. Well, I would say that is an incredibly huge success. There will be a few more things done in this car. We're gonna get the Speed 3, dang it, Dustin. We're gonna get the Speed 3 into the mix here very, very soon. Again, what we did today was we fixed the gasket on the exhaust manifold, specifically where the external wastegate would go if I had an external wastegate, but I made a block off plate and we put an extra new gasket on there because the first one was broken. I do need to figure out a fix for the future, different style of gasket, some kind of metal gasket, but it's not like it's an off-the-shelf part, so I've got to figure that out in the future. If you have any suggestions, comment it down below what I should do. Again, follow my Instagram if you haven't already. It is dcourt2ts. Follow my Twitter. It is Danny A. Courtney. Follow all that goodness. If you guys liked the video, like the video. If you didn't like the video, still like that video. Comment and subscribe. Adios!
After all is said and done, and I know